Okay, my GERO 200 friends, all right, this is module 6, okay? It is the third module for week 2, and yeah, that's the drill. So we're gonna have 3 modules for week 1 and 3 modules for week 2, because this is a 6-week course that covers the entire semester. If we check in on the syllabus, it kind of lays this all out, and all the dates are also found in the content area, okay? So I'm just gonna go into the syllabus right here, all right? And I'm going to scroll down, right? So you guys are all familiar with this. And just in case you want to do some planning in terms of what's going on right here for each module, and you guys have been working ahead. That's beautiful. There's a few glitches that happen in Brightspace, and so we will be changing it along the way as well. Okay. So we saw here, so the first week had module 1, module 2, module 3. Now here we are in the second week. I did my biology of aging lectures. Julie did the lecture on cancer, and now the third module for week 2. This is diabetes, vascular disease, and all the other associated diseases that come when you have vascular disease. That would be heart disease, because the blood vessels don't go to the heart so well, kidney disease, eye disease, all the complications that come from having diabetes first, vascular disease second, and then any tissue that has blood going to it is going to be compromised. Okay. Alrighty, so that's where we're at here with week 2. So what I'm going to do then is we can go back to home if you want, okay? Go back to my course, right? And there it is all set up. So again, what I've been doing just for ease, and because I want to show you how pretty it is, we set up all the widgets. We, meaning the collective we of Julia, set all this up. And so we did the theories on the biology of aging, okay? We did cancer, and now we're going to do diabetes. Now, I would click on this right here, and it would take me in, okay? And then, and again, you know, there's other things that you can do down here, so you can check it out, okay? Here's due dates, things like that, okay? So just to make you familiar with the course, if you don't want to go find a widget, all you need to do is just go to content right here. And then the content takes you to kind of like what we saw on Blackboard. Okay, we see the taskbar over here on the left-hand side, the syllabus, the Brightspace tips. These are policies based on what USC says. This was my How to Get an A course, an introduction to how Brightspace is set up. These are your 3 assignments. Okay, we have one coming up. Let's see, towards the end of next week, not this week, but it's next week, and we'll go over that. We'll talk about the exams, okay, and then the extra credit. All right, so it's all laid out there, and then we have module 1, 2, and 3. That was week 1, and then this second week that we are now part of, okay, module 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so I'm going straight into module 6, and there it is. Okay, so Julie found this great infographic right here that is really just about everything you need to know. Okay. When we look at diabetes, there are 2 different types. There's type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is just being really unlucky, okay? Type 1 is what's called an autoimmune disease, okay? It's, you know, at least theoretically, and there's a lot of evidence supporting this, it's due to some type of infection that you've had, a virus, okay? What is it? You know, well, it could have been hepatitis, or it could have been a real bad case of the flu. Or now there's all this evidence that some people sadly had this autoimmune complication from getting COVID-19. That's a virus. It happened to infect their pancreas, the cells that produce insulin, and the immune system was going after the virus and took out the important cells for producing insulin. So now they can't produce insulin because the immune system ate it up. That's called autoimmune. So these type of people, the type 1 diabetics, they are forced then to have insulin injections, okay, on a daily basis, okay. There's ways to monitor. Before, you used to have to monitor your blood glucose levels, because if they get too high, because what happens is you eat a meal and the glucose goes up, your pancreas releases insulin, all right? And then the insulin goes down to your fat cells, into your muscle cells, into your liver, and it's basically, it binds to the receptor. It's like a key fitting into a lock, and then that receptor opens up these big channels, these gates that let the glucose go into the liver, to fat, or to your muscles, and then it gets packaged into these little warehouses for energy, all right? That's the way it works, okay? But if you're not producing insulin, then the sugar just builds up, and we're going to go over all the symptoms that you might see. The bottom line is you feel out of it, okay, because you're not getting any sugar into your muscle, or sugar into your kidney cells, sugar into any cell, okay? So yeah, it is life-threatening, right? Type 2 is a slow, insidious process. You inherit genes from your family line that increase your vulnerability to what you do in life. Okay, it doesn't mean you're going to get diabetes, but you're at much greater risk. Okay, and that's the way that works. All right, so the genes are the nature, and the nurture is, yeah, I like eating lots of candy, I don't exercise, I live a high stress job, there's stress related diabetes, all this complicates somebody's life if they have a long family history of diabetes. Okay, so these are, go through the risk factors, genes right here. Do you exercise? Okay, what's your diet like? These go through all the symptoms, and we'll go through that through the other graphics that we have. Okay, prevention. A moderate diet that is mostly plant-based. Okay, regular visits with the doctor and keeping your weight down. Okay, when you are morbidly obese, okay, and all your fat is inside your gut, your belly fat, your tummy fat, doctors call it visceral fat, okay, your viscera, your intestines, okay, and the fat is just caked around the intestines, it becomes very inflammatory, okay? The fat unto itself gets into the blood, the messengers, inflammation means the immune system is flipping out, they get into the blood, and they all go to the muscle cells and liver cells, and they disconnect the way that insulin activates its receptors, okay? So then you become what's called insulin resistant. So that's different than type 1 where you don't have any insulin. Type 2, you develop resistance to the insulin. What actually happens is in type 2 diabetics, the receptors don't work as well, so the pancreas grows and it hypertrophies and it starts producing more and more and more insulin, trying to compensate for the fact that the receptors are not working that good. And then what happens is it goes into overload, and then you become kind of a combination of a type 1 and a type 2. So the pancreas begins to die off in late stage type 2 diabetics. And then once again, you need to inject yourself with insulin, all right? Okay, so yeah, so that's key. There's a bunch of unique medicines. This is a pre-med class, we would go over it. We don't have a chance to go over all of them. Some are insulin based, and some are just medicines that improve the way your body handles glucose. So for example, we can make your kidneys pee out more glucose. Okay, all the rage, Ozempic. What was that all about? That's an insulin medication, okay? I mean, insulin, a diabetes medication, right? And what Ozempic does is when you're eating a meal, your intestine cells, your gut cells, as the food comes in, they release Ozempic, okay? It's called GLP-1. And the GLP-1 gets into the blood, and it primes the pancreas to produce more insulin. Boom, all right, it doubles, triples the amount of insulin. This happens normally in all of us, okay? If you inject Ozempic, it helps you out, okay, and it improves that. And it goes up to the brain and says, you know what, you just had a meal, time to slow your roll and eat less. And that's why people are losing so much weight with Ozempic, okay? And that's the way the body operates, okay? If you want to have natural Ozempic, just eat more slowly, okay? Eat food that is fibrous, okay, that time releases. Fiber just basically time releases nutrients into your blood, and it gives a chance for your natural GLP-1, your natural Ozempic to be released by your gut and go up to the brain and say you've had enough. So if you eat really slowly, instead of woofing down a meal in 15, 20 minutes, if you sit there and take your time with friends and eat over an hour and a half, you're not going to eat as much, okay? Awesome. All right, so that's the drill on that. So and you can check out each one of these individually. There are complications, okay? The complications come from vascular disease from diabetes, okay? And so there is the fact that I mentioned last time that 80% of dementia patients are pre-diabetic or diabetics. That's 80%. People the eyes are like a little mini brain. Same thing happens here. The blood vessels get compromised and people get what's called diabetic retinopathy and they go blind, okay? the blood vessels to the heart go bad. Your heart's boom, 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 your whole life. So then you start having the heart muscle cells dying off, okay? And then you get heart failure and a heart attack because of diabetes, okay? Kidney failure, same drill, okay? The kidney cells don't get glucose into them to make them work, plus the intense buildup of glucose in the kidneys causes malformations, okay? And then you get what's called peripheral, way out in distance, neuropathy, okay? And that's what that's showing right there, okay? And it's because the blood vessels are not delivering blood as well, okay, out here, so you can't stop infections, okay? Tissue begins to die, and that then causes compromises in the nervous system, all right? Awesome. That one figure summarizes everything. It's awesome. Very cool. I love it. Alrighty, so if you need to go through it, this is a cool PDF right here. I'll bring it up right here. I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna ask you guys to do it, right? So if you go into the PDF, okay, and you just go through one by one. You can use the drop down. You can't even use that. You just use the arrows. It's weird how PDFs, some of them will bring the arrow up on the right and some don't, okay? But you just go through here, and it's just a diabetes of, it's a overview of how diabetes works, okay? For everybody to understand. Why do you get thirsty? Okay, so what happens, okay, when you have a ton of glucose in your blood and it's not pulled into muscle, fat, and liver cells by the action of insulin, then the glucose that you can't get rid of goes into your kidneys and it pulls water into it, okay? You ever notice when you take sugar, big old spoonful of sugar, you put it in the glass of water, you stir it up, it's magic, it disappeared. Where'd it go, okay? It encircles itself with water, and so when it goes into the kidneys, takes the water with it, okay? Takes the water out of your blood and you pee it out. So what's happening is you're peeing all the time, and as a result of losing all that water, you become really, really thirsty, okay? You have blood vessel problems, especially in the eyes. They're super vascular, okay? You're not getting glucose. That's your fuel, baby. So you're not getting glucose into muscle cells, into your brain, into any cell. So you're very, very fatigued. Blood vessels don't work well. How do you think we heal wounds? Okay, you deliver the immune system with the blood, right? So you have lots of infections. They don't heal. Okay, in the end, initially it can be major weight gain. In the end, you start having weight loss, nausea, and vomiting. Anyways, you go through this. It explains type 1, type 2. There it is. On and on and on. All right, I'm not going to do this for you. Good overview, though, my friends. Okay, the statistics are mind-blowing, okay? This is, as you guys do your, remember we talked about in the first 2 weeks about developed versus undeveloped countries, westernized versus non-westernized. These are all these terminologies that are used, okay? Developed versus developing countries, sorry. But as more and more excess of food happens, okay, people don't work in the farms as much. They're sitting there at their computers, eating while they're working, okay, doing nothing, eating food that's processed, high in sugar. So then you see this emergence of diabetes everywhere in the world, okay? And on a per population basis, this is a really populated area. And so this is why they have so much diabetes through here. But again, it's a disease of excess, okay, and a lack of exercise. So everybody around the world is having it eats away at the economy of your country. Your gross domestic product is going towards the care of these long-term progressive diseases like diabetes that then becomes heart disease, becomes kidney disease, becomes dementia. You see how this all unfolds, okay? Alrighty, so there's over 500 million people with diabetes, okay? So 3 in 4 adults with diabetes live in low and middle income countries, okay? So they're getting access to food. They don't have the health care to support the people though, okay? So you can go through all these different global findings are really important. I throw this up here. This is really, again, if you ever had to do the website, it's from this website right here. It's incredible, okay? You guys never know we're going to be doing data mining, and this is an incredible website for data mining about diabetes, We can go and look at our country that is put together, North America and the Caribbean, and it lays down the stats here. So it says here 1 in 7 people have diabetes if we throw everybody together, okay? And I believe, I could be wrong, that might include Mexico, I'm not sure, okay? But you go through the stats right there. So this, again, how much does it cost in US dollars annually? $415 billion in terms of the care and treatment of people with diabetes, okay? So diabetes, okay, is a major risk factor for a lot of other diseases because of the lack of quality blood flow, because you're in the state of inflammation. And so one of the big diseases is heart disease, where the heart begins to die off, okay, because the blood vessels to the heart, your heart pumps, here comes the aorta, then the coronary arteries go right back in. They're big giant puppies, okay? And they get screwed up by diabetes. You candy coat those arteries, the immune system flips out and forms all kinds of inflammation. Then you get atherosclerosis full of fat. And this is what happens to the coronary arteries. They go like this. And then you have a heart attack, okay? Or if they're just like a little bit, then you slowly kill off the heart muscle, all right? So yes, that's the big problem. So twice as more likely in men than in women, all right? Women, heart disease and complication of diabetes accelerate after they go through menopause, okay? So it is protective, okay? These are the complications. Heart attack, where else does the big blood vessels go? Right here, remember, my carotid artery coming right off the aorta, right into the brain, all right? So it's very common to have occlusions in the carotid and the cerebral arteries, and you get a stroke, okay? High blood pressure causes damage to all your blood vessels, consequent to the candy coat those arteries, all right? They don't expand, okay? Full of atherosclerosis, they don't expand, the blood pressure goes up, and it's just like taking your garden hose and like that, and it causes damage to the blood vessels, and then that becomes this downward spiral, okay? Cholesterol fills in the cracks, so to speak, but it's bad, okay? It's a short-term solution with a big long-term problem, okay? And ultimately, obesity is the big contributor when you have diabetes, okay? Because obesity is, fat is your biggest organ in your body, and it is the inflammatory organ, okay? So what happens when you become really, really obese, I'm trying not to sneeze right now, is that the fat cells begin to die off. Fat cells are always replicating and growing, and then some get on necrotic and die off. So the immune system has to go in there and gobble it up, okay? So when you're obese, your immune infiltration is about 10-fold higher, all right? And that creates this inflammation, and it just messes everything up everywhere else in the body, all right? All right, so what can you do? All right, the ABCs of diabetes, okay? You can lower your blood glucose so you don't candy coat proteins. So we have this one protein that is the measure of candy coating, okay? If you're not controlling your blood glucose, your blood sugar levels, they get really high, and lots of proteins get candy coated, and it flips out the immune system. The immune system looks at a candy coated protein like, hey, that's a bacteria, hey, that's a virus, and it attacks, okay? Alrighty, so one measure of it is a protein that is found in your red blood cells, okay? It's called hemoglobin, okay? That's the protein that carries oxygen, A1C, okay? And so hemoglobin A1C gets candy coated, and you can measure this, okay? And it tells you what stage of diabetes or what risk you have, okay? We can also look at the consequences. We can do also monitoring of blood glucose, etc. That's another way of doing it, okay? The A1C is more of a continuous chronic measure. Look at blood pressure, look at cholesterol. All these elevate when you're a diabetic, okay? All right, so you got to keep these low, baby. Got to keep them low, all right? Stop smoking. Smoking makes everything worse. We talked about cancer. It exacerbates or makes diabetes far worse, okay? So quit that, okay? If you are now a diabetic, you've got to follow the prescription given to you by your doctor, okay? You've got to be, this is a fancy word doctors use, you got to be compliant with his recommendations. Take your medicine on schedule. Increase your activity. Eat vegetables, fruits, nuts. It is what it is, okay? You got to change your lifestyle, all right? All right, so these are just depending on what you're looking at. This is the Center for Disease Control. 2 in 5 Americans will develop diabetes over their lifetime. Okay. All righty, we heard that cancer, 1 in 3 people get cancer in their lifetime. So these are all things that are targets for modifying it. Remember, you have the sleuth, the epidemiologist. What can we do to reduce the risk for diabetes? Okay, diet, exercise. This is how we know this. Believe me, we compare groups of people. Okay. Um, Consequences, okay, this is a bad one, all right? This is the blindness, diabetic retinopathy, okay? Damaged blood vessels in the back of the eye, okay? So it's expected that 14.7 million people will be blind from diabetes in the year 2050. That's a lot of people that you, as students now, as young adults then, are going to have to deal with, okay? Alrighty, so we have a couple of instructional videos right here. It makes it much easier to understand. So watch this video. It explains how diabetes works. So again, when you eat sugar, okay, so I just had a waffle, all right? That's just a bunch of sugar that's complicated and strung together. Your digestive enzymes releases it into a single sugar molecule, all right? Then the sugar causes insulin to be released, and then insulin binds to, say, your muscle cell or liver cell. And then what insulin does is this is like a little membrane ball, little oil ball full of these special proteins that open up and act as vacuum cleaners to let the glucose in to package it for later. All right, so that's what this is all about. You watch that video. And then this guy John, okay, he gives a really, really good overview of his complications. And what are John's complications? Anywhere there's a blood vessel, anywhere there's a lot of blood vessels, you get complications, okay? So what do people get? They have strokes because of diabetes, okay? Again, obesity, diabetes, obesity, inflammation, stroke, okay? Or you get dementia, okay? That's over a long haul. Eye disease, diabetic retinopathy, and blindness. Kidney disease, okay? Kidneys are constantly, they're your garbage disposal. They're sifting your blood continuously. Here's a kidney, the blood's going whoosh, whoosh, whoosh through it, sucking out everything bad. The kidneys get diseased by inflammation, by high levels of blood glucose. They stop working so well. What happens is the garbage backs up in your body and you can die, all right? So what happens, I've had a couple of friends, okay, that this is their trajectory, and they were then on dialysis for years, okay? It's not a fun process, okay, where you basically get hooked up your blood to a machine, and it cleans it like your kidney used to. It is the garbage disposal. And so you have to do it, once a week, once every 2 days, once a day. It just depends on how far gone you are, okay? And then in the process, you're going to be looking for getting a kidney transplant, okay? Which is no free lunch, believe me, all right? So this is why you can control this. Heart, big blood vessels, diabetes, inflammation, atherosclerosis, the heart begins to die off, okay? Neuropathy, all right? This is a very painful syndrome, happens way out in the distance in your fingers and in your feet, where it's really hard to get the blood coming from here to go all the way out there, okay? And so things begin to die off, and it causes pain. You get infections out there, right here, peripheral vascular disease results in infections because you can't get the blood out there, the white blood cells to clean it, and then these go hand in hand in hand, okay? All right, guys, so that's your diabetes right there. Let's go back here to Module 6, okay? And look at the discussion on this. And in the discussion, what we're going to be asking you to do is, first of all, understand what's going on, all right? Our last 200 years of mankind are such an anomaly compared to the couple of million years that we've been on Earth. Remember, we would be living in the bushes in Santa Monica. We might find some berries, go trap something and eat it, and then we might go, 5 days before we had another meal. So it made sense to put it in the fat and then burn it, okay? Put it in the fat and burn it. Now, we live in Santa Monica, we can go to the 7-Eleven 700 times a day and eat whatever we want. Our 2 million years of biology is fighting against what we have going on now, which is unlimited access to unlimited food. It is what it is. Our brains are always like, I see food, I need to eat. and it's really hard to control, okay? That's why you try and really spice up your natural foods. Make them tasty, make them savory, make them spicy, make them fun, you know? Um, you know, if you have pasta, more veggies, lots of olive oil, garlic. Make it entertaining. I like steamed veggies over a bed of rice with lots of shoyu, which is Japanese for soy sauce, okay? Stuff like that, okay? Eat lots of nuts. June and I have Greek yogurt or cottage cheese, a whole big bed of fresh fruit and berries, throw a bunch of nuts over the top, boom, okay? So that's what you kind of need to do. And then so this explains why we are. It's pretty straightforward. Alrighty, so how healthy are we? All right. Insurance companies want to know. All right. So every year I got to fill stuff out for my insurance company that tells them how tall I am, what my weight is. They're going to calculate from that your BMI, body mass index. Super not fair. What if I'm this tall, but I'm freaking just buffed, okay? Like a Patrick Mahomes, okay? Like a LeBron James, okay? What does that do, okay, to my BMI, okay? Well, I'm gonna have a high BMI, but it's all muscle and bone, okay? It's what you want, right? So it's very, very inaccurate. So you can talk about this in the discussion, okay? So there are other ways, okay, to deal with this, okay? So when I get a physical, they do my BMI. They also do a measurement of my hips and my belly, okay, or waist, and they compare my hip to waist circumference, which is, remember, the circumference of a circle. Combine that with the BMI, and now we have a better readout. There's also a way of actually measuring the amount of fat that I have right here, okay, and that's becoming more and more common. Either way, it is what it is. Do your BMI, see how you stack up, okay? All right, that's what that's all about, okay? So you go in here, right here, and it'll take you right to it. Let me just cruise right in here. All right, there's my BMI, and there's my calculator. So you go right here, and you calculate it out. Okay, here, let's check me out. Let's see what I got here. I'm 6 feet tall, and I am about 170. All right, let's see what I am. Okay, hey, well, guess what? I'm 23.1. I'm healthy. All right, big deal. All right. So this might be unfair if you're freaking buffed. All right. So that's the idiocy of that. But you know what? Insurance companies will hold it against you. And that is the fight, because insurance companies are going to decide how much are we going to charge you for health insurance. Okay. If you are overweight, you're high risk for all these problems we talked about, which is going to cost the insurance company tons of money. So they're going to create an algorithm based on their risk and your numbers that may or may not be the fairest. Okay. Alrighty. So that's kind of where that's at right there. I'm going to go back to discussion 6. Okay. In addition to that measurement of BMI, you can come down here. These are all different measures you have that I want you to take up. Here's some more calculators you can check out from the Social Security Administration. Okay, and yeah, this one's a fun one. Let's see see if it's still going. Bump, 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 bump. This is a cool one. All right, so I would not. This one looks at lifestyle. First of all, men and women are different. All right, there's a whole sleuth of people that are looking at the epidemiology from the Center for Disease Control, the National Institutes of Health, okay? And they're looking at risk based on male versus female, based on what your ethnicity is, okay? Based on your age, based on your weight. So you just kind of go like this. Look at me, I'm getting up there. Where do I stop? Where do I stop? Where do I stop? Ah, 68, okay? I said I was 170. Let's check this out. I'm ready. 172, that's good enough. Okay, 6 feet. Good. All right. What else we got going on here? This is a really important to think about. Okay, because knowledge is power, and I know all about eating my berries and plant-based diet because you know what? I'm a college graduate. Okay, what is my marital status? When you are married, things go better. You eat healthy together, you exercise together, okay? Working is a good thing, okay? All right, my annual income, well, that's a good thing as well. All right, so I'm greater than 80K. Okay, my overall fitness, I surf every single day. How many workouts per week? There, I walk every day as well. My health is pretty good. All right, do I have diabetes? No. My lifestyle, do I drink? That's good enough. Okay, smoking? Never smoked. Okay. My summary is all right in there. Let's calculate my life expectancy. Boom. And boom. Dude, I'm gonna live down 94. What a trip is that? Okay. Alrighty. All right. So that's this week. Hope you enjoyed it. You guys kick butt this week. We'll go back here to home. And what do we see here? One way to reduce your diabetes and heart disease is to lower your stress. You know, one way to have stress, because when you release a bunch of stress hormones, it causes an elevation of blood glucose because you need that glucose when you're being chased by a lion. But when you're just sitting there worrying about your girlfriend or boyfriend or how you're going to pay the rent without actually burning the glucose, you get what's called stress-related diabetes. Okay, people also get stress-related dementia because of the diabetes caused by stress can go up there and impact the brain. All right. So the reason I'm saying that is you can figure out a way to reduce your stress, like pura vida, like we're doing down here in Costa Rica. All right, my friends. All right, peace, and we'll see you next time you see the video. We'll be back in SoCal.